Okay, so let's talk a bit about the Biden administration. I had a note here about Robert Califf, who is the FDA commissioner. The upshot here is while he's newer, he was at the agency previously. This is a return to the agency for him. Some have thought, oh, is he pro-cannabis? Is he anti-cannabis? I think he's going to continue FDA's approach of following the science. And if they think there's abuse potential, to have policies that will allow the science and the medicine to take us where it needs to go, but also restricting access to these products if they believe it's appropriate to do so. So translation, I don't expect material changes on CBD. I do expect forward-thinking actions on marijuana, which the FDA had a major role in the apparent scheduling recommendation that HHS sent to DEA. So I do think FDA is forward-thinking, frankly, more forward-thinking than DEA. So I do think the FDA is changing for the better in that regard. Okay, I've talked about this rescheduling consideration from HHS and now at DEA. How did we get here? So a little more than a year ago, on October 6th, President Biden issued a statement from the White House and said, we're going to do a few things today. We are going to pardon all prior federal offenses of simple possession of marijuana. A lot of people thought incorrectly that meant a bunch of people were going to be released from jail. So that's not the case. There are actually very few people who are incarcerated for federal simple possession offenses, but the next part of the three-legged stool is important, which is that the president urged all governors to do the same with regard to state offenses, because that's frankly why most people are incarcerated for marijuana possession, is because it's a violation of state law. So some governors have taken the president's directive on that, others have not, but hopefully this is the start of good things to come. But I would say for our purposes today, the most significant part is the president asked HHS, really Secretary of HHS Xavier Becerra, and the Attorney General Merrick Garland to expeditiously evaluate how marijuana is scheduled and to, if appropriate, reschedule marijuana. So that's how this process got kicked off. HHS has completed its review. I keep saying apparently, and shame on me for not explaining why. The letter that HHS sent to DEA was leaked to Bloomberg, but no one outside of the government that I know of besides Bloomberg has seen the letter. Just yesterday, I'm a part of a network of a number of cannabis attorneys across the country. We're just, it's a collegial, it's a small bar. There are, a handful of us that are in touch with one another that work alongside and, sometimes on opposite sides, but we're all pretty friendly and it's great in terms of an information exchange. Why am I talking about all this? Several people have submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to HHS to get a copy of this letter because no one's actually seen it to know what it says. We all think what it says is that HHS recommends rescheduling to Schedule 3, but for the first time yesterday, a heavily redacted version became public, but it doesn't say anything other than we sent this letter to DEA. Why is HHS being so secretive about this? Does that foreshadow that DEA is close to making a decision? Potentially, but it seems odd that HHS wouldn't allow this letter to, be shown publicly. So more to come there. I've talked about, I said August 23rd, it was actually August 29th, that HHS sent this letter. Everything I've said here, everything I said previously is reflected on this, this slide. Okay, so this is a complicated slide, but what I want you to understand is that there's multiple ways to skin the cat in terms of how marijuana is scheduled, whether it gets rescheduled. Can the president do this unilaterally? Does this have to go through Congress? Can this just be a federal agency action? I think most agree that the president would not do this unilaterally. I think that's why he asked these agencies to look into it. Congress could take action, and I think there's some action for Congress to take here. But I think the agency route is probably the cleanest route and the one that makes the most sense to me. They understand these issues better than Congress does, frankly.